change
Recording.
or
It is now 6 o'clock, so we will begin our pre-meeting. Roll call, please.
Mayor Pete,
Present.
Commissioner Hou,
Present.
Commissioner Roberts,
Present.
Commissioner Miller,
Present.
Commissioner Strayer,
Present.
Commissioner Castleberry,
Present.
Commissioner Gauss,
Present.
all commission members present.
I will now hand it over to our city administrator, Greg Elliott.
Thank you, Mayor. So our first item to discuss is further on the farmer's market. Following your discussion last time, Jay Marks did prepare sort of a pro forma budget for us and did some research on what other communities are charging, and thoughts together on booth fees and all that. But sadly, he is not able to be here tonight either because of his school board responsibilities. So really, I just wanted to put this on pre-meeting because I do want to, I put a contract that we put together and John has reviewed that contract. I don't see John on the meeting yet, but John has reviewed it and he's okay with it. It's an form of independent contractor agreement that we've used for inspectors and such for years. So it's pretty standard. Just so that we can get him going. There's a lot for him to do in March and April before the market would open to get started. And so he came up with a number as a stipend of $10,000. We actually made it $10,500 to throw in the 4 weekends of First Friday that he did last year, so he can do the market district there again this year as well. Essentially, it's based on $20 per hour. The hours were in the contract, 15 hours per week during the preseason to get ready, and then devoting at minimum of 17 hours a week during the season, both attending the market and doing all that is necessary to administer it. The way he looks at it, you know, I won't say that we're adding anything to the budget to compensate for this, but it won't cash flow necessarily in the first year. The way he views it, it will cash flow in subsequent years. So we'll be after the first year in black going forward. But you know, as we talked about last time, we envision transitioning that to DDA Main Street after this year. This is just a jump start that we're going to take care of this year because we can move more quickly and nimbly and get it going. So I think it's an opportunity we want to count on. So just put it on pre-meeting tonight for any further discussion you want to have. Make sure you're comfortable with the contract before you ask to vote on that later tonight.
Yeah, I was very comfortable with it. I thought basically breaking it down to $20 an hour was extremely reasonable.
Yeah, it's really a labor of love for him. You know,
Yeah.
it's not really about him.
Right. People said to me that, you know, they're happy that we're investing in the market and hopefully we can get some traction, and, you know, beyond this year also. So hopefully he keep growing. I'm like any business, like it's hard to cash flow in the first year. Everybody knows that. So, and you know, he understands business. He's a businessman himself. So I'm excited to see what they can bring.
I've never met Mr. Marks. I'm sorry he couldn't be here tonight. I guess the only thing I wonder about, I think it's great, is what are our mutual expectations in terms of how we're going to measure success? I mean, what do we think he's going to be able to accomplish the first year?
So he hopes to have 13 vendors, the first regular vendors, seasoned vendors the first year, along with maybe 4 daily vendors that will show up in the first year. So that's what he's projecting, and then growing it from there up to maybe 2022 regular vendors going
13
forward.
first year would certainly meet my expectations.
And that's
I'd be very
together
happy.
with, so he really wants to make an event out of it, have food trucks there as well. Of course, the food trucks will be paying a fee for their attendance as well. You know, so, and really the way it works out, I think he was projecting, correctly, a first year fee of $50. Yeah, $50 a season and $10 daily. And going up to 150 a season and 20 daily in the second year, and ultimately 175 and 25 in the third year. So, with that introductory rate, that's part of the reason it doesn't cash flow yet. But then, as I say, he also plans to bring food trucks, and have them there on market day as well. We'll obviously get fees from them as well to help support the effort. And to just make an event out of it, as opposed to something that has been pretty quiet in the past.
Sounds great.
And what, if anything, or how is this information going to be communicated to the people that have been using the market over the last couple of years without paying their fees?
Yeah, well, we will, once we're settled on this and approving the contract tonight, we'll really do that. Then we're gonna let them know that there's a commitment for that. But they are more than welcome to participate in this market as vendors, obviously.
But they haven't, since the time we talked about this a couple of weeks ago, they haven't approached anyone to say, hey, hold on, we're upset or happy, anything.
No, I don't know that it's on the radar, but likewise, they have not approached us about using the space
Okay,
this year either. And so we will proactively communicate with them after tonight, so that they're aware. And like I say, an invitation will be extended to participate. This won't be theirs to manage. Anything else on that? Looking right along here. There's plenty of time for public comment tonight. So the other item I wanted to discuss again before we get into actually approving it on the regular meeting agenda tonight is the Match on Main program. You may remember 2 years ago at the onset of the pandemic, we were allowed to participate in this as a special exception from MEDC because of the pandemic. So all communities were allowed to participate in Match on Main that year. Normally, it is only for Main Street communities, who are admitted to the select level of Main Street. So this year we are admitted to the select level of Main Street. We're invited to participate in this program. We were, by the way, successful in getting the grant in 2020. So this year's program is a little different than it was that year. This year it allows for us to select 2 businesses who either are new downtown or expanding downtown to compete for up to $25,000 each for a grant. It is a reimbursement grant, and so they get paid back for doing what they were approved to do through the grant process if they're selected. It's both competitive at our level, assuming we get more than 2 businesses who apply, and then competitive at the state level as well. There is no local match. It's only the matter of us, administering it that we have to put into it. So the one thing we do have to do in evaluating applicants is to to have some criteria to weigh one over the other if in fact we get more than 2 applicants who want to compete for it. And so we included in the resolution 3 criteria, one of which is kind of 2 of which are similar to what we used in 2020. Number 1 is that it would be transformative for the business. So if $25,000 gets 50% of what you need to get accomplished done, that would be transformative. If $25,000 goes into a pile of $10 million, you don't really need that grant to do what you might still be the only one applying for it, but you wouldn't need that. So you would be weighted less heavily on that criteria. Number 2, the demonstrated ability to advance the funds, so showing us you got the money in the bank or credit line, or whatever it is, credit facility to actually do what you purport to do because it is a reimbursement grant. And then number 3, that you were a public facing business that is open to the public during regular business hours. So last time around, we had, some basic like law offices and things like that apply for it, who, they aren't adding to the vitality of the downtown. So we weighted them less favorably last time and went this time as well. So those are our 3 local criteria that are included in the resolution. I mean, we could change those, we could add others if you think that would be important, but that's what we're proposing. So happy to answer any questions about this.
Well, after I read through it, I thought to myself, if I were one of the businesses, I don't know how excited I would be about it, because I forget how it was worded, but near the end, it talked about, okay, this is a reimbursement grant. But it sounded like the reimbursement could be a ways down the road, and you may have to take out a loan in the meantime before you get the money. And there was some reference to what the city's role would be there. If we wanted to have a role, it was like if we wanted to front the money, or if they were going to actually have to get a loan from a bank.
Yeah, I mean, that wasn't what I contemplated. I don't contemplate us fronting the money for
Okay.
anybody. Like I say, in fact, that's why we put that second criteria in there. We want them to demonstrate that they can, it might be a loan, but if you get a loan and then your loan's paid off, that's a good deal for you. So I guess we could cross that bridge when we come to it in terms of applicants, but you would be a more highly weighted applicant if in fact you have the ability to handle.
To get the loan.
Get the loan, or you have the money and,
Yeah.
you'd be reimbursed in the future.
We have any idea what the pot is that, how many will be awarded? I kept looking for it and didn't notice.
I don't know that it's on, I don't think it's in this material. It's several $1 million that are available.
But only, even
statewide,
though-
but statewide.
And even though we submit 2 businesses, only one of them will be chosen by,
We can submit 2 applications.
right, but could both of those be
Yes.
picked?
They
Oh,
could both
you
be
should
picked.
Oh, okay, I misunderstood that.
How many applicants did we have in 2020? Do you remember?
I want to say it was about 25, and the way we did it there is everybody who met the qualifying criteria, we submitted them all, and then we just divvied it up. But as a result, it was a pretty small number per applicant that they received. A couple grand for that.
Couldn't do much with that.
In the pandemic, and for some, it came in pretty handy. For others, we had the checks wait down the desk for a while for them to come get them.
How did we get the word out to the people?
We've already, Michelle has already sent out a heads up, and we will promote that in the same way. She has a comprehensive email list for all the downtown businesses.
I don't recall when applications were due. Can you tell me?
It is very shortly. It is. The window starts today. I want to say we've got about 2 or 3 weeks. I don't know.
It is quick.
That's why we had to put it on tonight's agenda, because
It's coming up
it's
fast.
coming up so fast that we couldn't wait till next meeting's agenda. There's a text message, no doubt, telling you it's effective March 9th. It's magic how that happens. The answers just appear to me.
Envision. Well, Well, it's a good deal for the two that get the grant, that's for sure.
Well, if they do, right.
Yeah,
You know,
well,
as I say, it's competitive statewide as well. So like I say, just on pre-meeting, answer any questions that you have about it. And it's particularly the qualifying criteria, if you have any further thoughts on that or one of any other criteria included. Just those are- This is what a Main Street director will do in the future. The DDA hires one.
Whenever that
process.
does happen.
Yeah, that is quite the process.
I believe
You've hired administrators.
it was early last spring that applications first started coming in.
So it's been a year, basically,
Oh, it's been,
10 months.
well, kind of point where we advertised. Probably.
But retail and restaurants and bars would way heavier than other businesses again, right?
Any, like I say, any public facing business, so like if you're a barber shop, you know, that would qualify. But something that's got regular hours, the public can open the door and walk in, you know, like I say, adds to the vitality of the streetscape downtown, but that's what we're looking for.
That's good.
Not Mayor, I will turn it back over to you.
Is there anything else anybody would like to discuss for this pre-meeting?
I would like to discuss what mental health looks like in our city. And have there been any studies or is there anything that can help explain what that looks like to the constituents of the city of Adrian? And how are they being helped? How are they not being helped? Things like that. I'm in a position of work that I see a lot of mental health issues, and then I just because of that, or my background in crime victim advocacy, I see a lot of, or I hear a lot of need and not a lot of resources. So I'm just wondering if there's anything that explains that to us and to help us better understand if there's something we can do to help or not.
Well, I'm also concerned when I hear most of their appointments are back, telehealth, back online. So what does somebody do that doesn't have access to that? Like that was very concerning when I heard that a few weeks ago, because I didn't realize they were pretty much all back from remote again. That's just highly concerning, especially for that large population that doesn't have access to internet. So how are they supposed to receive any kind of help or services as well?
I'm concerned about hospital care and what I understand at the hospital level and then between community mental health. I'm very confused by how things work and how it should work. I do know that there are people in our community not getting the care that they need. And I'm very concerned about that. We've had some atrocities happen in this community based on those things. And I think we need to maybe take a deeper look into that and see what we can do to make some positive change.
Can CMH give us any statistics? They give us any information?
Be great if they could.
I remember years ago, we had some folks that came up here and once the mental health care left the city. And so I know now that we have citizens that need that service, they go to Jackson, right? Jackson County still has it.
I think they go to wherever is available.
Yeah.
So depending on who has an available bed, that's where they go.
Yeah, I think you're talking about when ProMedica
Right, that's what, yeah.
basically got out of the business. And
Yeah.
so, yeah, people came to us and said, what can you do?
Right.
It wasn't something that had ever been in our wheelhouse before,
Mhm.
but they were coming to us.
Right. With the same concerns, like we have a huge void that needs to be filled, and
I've
it's
seen
a
people
serious
in
void.
straight psychosis not get the care they need. I've seen
people attempt suicide and go to ProMedica and be bounced right back out onto the street. So I'm just concerned by the lack of mental health care in our community. And I think that we need to do something differently.
I agree.
And I know before COVID, it was when ProMedica first made some changes, it became a big conversation that just shut down because of COVID. And so we shut that conversation down and nobody's picked the ball up again, I guess. And I see a great need for that to happen.
I think we probably all agree with that. It would be great if we could get CMH, invite CMH to come in and give us a presentation so we understand the lay of the land. And maybe that's the starting point of where we go from. But you're right. I mean, it's a huge problem.
It's a crisis.
It is. And I know that you said Jackson, I think, U of M, St. Joe's, I mean, they've got facilities and treatment. I've always heard the reason that we don't have, a clinic or anything like that is because of the lack of psychiatrists and the inability to get psychiatrists to move to Adrian or come to Adrian. It's like trying to recruit any other business, I guess. Yeah, I'd really like to hear from CMH. I mean, they're the ones that are supposed to be driving the bus. And it would be good to understand from their perspective and viewpoint, what the current situation is and what they think we could do about it.
And it's like, when they're gonna give us their feedback, and it's like there's something we can do to help with that. I don't know how much legislative power we have when it comes to that. We can't wave a magic wand and bring a doctor to the community, but if they have some statistics on what we can, if there is something we can do legislatively that can help that, I mean, I think it's important. I mean, because it is a serious problem. It's not just the problem, so.
Yeah, and we have the same issue with drug rehabilitation. We've got nothing going there either. Nobody's doing it. And God knows we've got a problem. So I think, I don't know which is more serious. They're both very, very serious. And, we need to figure it out.
Yeah, there's quite a bit of overlap.
There's a lot of
absolutely is.
interconnection there.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah, it just shocks me to hear all of the discussion that's going on. If we could generate just the discussion, not even panel discussion, but just between us, it's got to generate something, got to get something moving. I think that bringing focus to this is so important. So important.
Talking about the first step in public, and then you and I talk, as it's what you got to get it out there, and then I don't know, like I said, I don't know how much power we do have or what we can do for it, but I think that bringing the professionals in to understand what left our community, because I don't know, but I do remember that meeting they came and they were more against ProMedica by taking that service out, but if there's something we can do or
they can
at
bring
least
the
help
history.
support.
Sorry, they can bring the history to us to let us know what happened, where are we, what's going on, right? Where do we go from here?
I
That's very
think that-
important.
I think, don't quote me, but I think mental health will say that it comes down to dollars because they're getting their money from the state.
Mhm.
And the state keeps cutting mental health's budget with the idea that the state would like to see all mental health be privatized. And so mental health in Lenaway County is not growing, it's depleting. So,
It's about a 3-month wait for to see a counselor or therapist right now.
it's insane.
It's about a 3-month wait. So if someone's in crisis, suicidal ideations, it's about a 3-month wait.
Oh,
So I think the mental health would probably be more than willing to come and talk to us. But after that, I don't know where you go. You had the discussion. And so now what?
But even if it's something that's getting the education from them on what services left, and we can just rubber stamp some support for that service in our community, or at least get after the state legislators on, and then get them, hey, listen, you guys, let's start prioritizing some things and moving some money around and get these communities the resource they need to fight this, and then to help.
If we did talk to mental health and let mental health know that we were supportive of them, mental health, that may be a tool for mental health to go back to ProMedica and say, hey, people in our community are interested in the service. We don't have anything. We need you to step up, so to speak.
But in the economic supply and demand, I mean, the demand is here. So even if you wanted to privatize it, why isn't anybody coming? Why? You will be busy. You will make money. You know, but
But what Gordon said is exactly true, that ProMedicus was the one that said, we can't get psychiatrists to move to your area. So because of that, we don't want to have room in our facility or build a clinic. You know, we don't want to invest in that if we can't get the proper people.
gotcha.
And the Human Relations Commission has already has a lot of concern when it comes to this area as well. And has invited them to like a pre-meeting and already started some conversations like that. So they know there is concern. Obviously, that's at a lower level in the city commission, but they know that and they are very interested. So I think they'd be very receptive to coming and meeting with us and having that open dialogue at the city commission level. Because there already has been that discussion going on with Human Relations Commission and them.
Maybe get them.
I set them
scheduled.
up for a pre-meeting, for sure.
I think ProMedica and community mental health.
Invite them both.
Yeah, that's great.
And like Doug said, you know, like just talking about it, I think is gonna bring some light to it.
Yeah.
And especially something that's, you know, like I said, it's a crisis. And so, and I think that what you see every day, and I think there's a lot more that people aren't talking about. They're keeping to themselves also,
Mhm.
which is a big concern too. So, yeah.
And that's my concern about privatization. You know, that comes with cost, obviously. And your clientele don't have the funds, you know, to be able to go anywhere unless, you know, the government's helping provide it. You would think this isn't a problem that's unique to Adrian either. You know, I think it's statewide, it's probably countrywide, but I'm surprised that the state isn't doing more. And like you said, instead of cutting funds, you know, they ought to be putting more money into it. And we do need to talk to our legislators and you know, get them in here to hear what's going on. I mean, they can't be blind to the issue. I don't know whether everybody is preoccupied with COVID or, you know, that's where everybody's attention is going and that's where all the money's going. But, you know, there's other priorities besides that. And, you know, if it's not on their radar screen, we need to put it there. Thanks for bringing that up, Ken.
Thank you, Ken. Anything else?
Yeah, I was very busy today, and I actually had you know, my friend, a friend of mine who's city administrator, city of Southgate. He emailed me they just passed their exterior point of sale inspections for their properties, and I asked him on Friday, but he was busy this weekend, so he just got it back to me today. So I plan to send it out to you guys tonight. You know, when we get home after the meeting, I'll send it to you. You can review it. And I talked to Greg about it once, and he wasn't thrilled about the vendor that they hired, but he's, you know, Greg's, that's his wheelhouse, so he knows other companies that do the same kind of work. I think what I've been seeing in the real estate market is that I see a lot of duplexes coming up for sale. I've looked at a couple, and I keep Greg and Glenn in tune. I always ask them like, hey, the city inspected that property yet? And, you know, and so forth. So I think us talking about blight and about cleaning up the city, I think is kind of an alarm to a lot of these landlords that haven't maintained the property. So they know we're coming. Jake's making his way around, Glenn's making his way around. And I think that some of these landlords that have not reinvested in the properties, they're starting to get, you know, a couple, 2-3 page long, hey, you got to come to code. And so I'm going to sell it. Now, me, I have the knowledge to understand that I can email, just like any other citizen can, email and say, hey, you know, is this property up to compliance? But a lot of folks, you know, especially when they're new in real estate, they don't know that that's an option, you know, and I've said this before, I learned the hard way when I bought my first rental property, and that will never happen again. But I just don't want to see it happen to other people. They're just trying to, you know, whether it be leveraging money or trying to acquire an asset and do it the right way. And so I'll send that, it's short, and then I'll send you Greg can review. Maybe we can talk about it next pre-meeting and kind of start moving that process down the road. And I think that exterior only, I think that's that gives a visual to the city instead of going all in at once. I think that let's go slow. And I think that when people drive into our community, that's the first thing they see is the outside, right? Chip paint, porch, roof, windows, stuff like that. But I think it's important. I think it's gonna leverage our resources without having to hire more staff. Because I don't know the number of how many houses are sold in Adrian, but I'm sure it's quite a few, per year. And so that's gonna give that many more, at least exterior inspections on top of what Jake and Glenn are doing also. So I apologize, I couldn't get out to you guys earlier, but I was busy today, but I'll get that out to you after the meeting, so.
Greg, thank you for sending us the results from the trash survey. Amazing number of comments in that one
That's
section.
the best survey response
Yeah.
I've seen in a long time. 1,000 responses is quite impressive.
About half of them believe that we run the recycling center down on Race Street.
Yep, always.
Yeah,
Yep.
we get blamed for anything. Nobody else wants to do. You need to send those comments over to Marty Marshall before he leaves.
Well, I actually participate in the solid waste committee meeting, so bring those along next time.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of good comments in there. Certainly a mix of perspectives on what we should do and what we shouldn't do. From leave it like it is to, some radical change. But so, it'll be interesting how we work our way through that and make our decisions on how we do it. But it seems like there's a common thread, certainly with bulk trash and some of those things. So,
No surprise how many people wanted totes.
yeah, I was
thought
too.
that would be like make people jump up and down, no way. And it seemed like that was a big plus.
It's a cleaner look, man. You go in
Oh, it
and
is.
you go into the city, you see totes that are bags on the ground, rodents and animals aren't ripping them up and tearing them in yards. And it's like, it's an added cost for me because I have some properties, but I don't want trash in my yard. So,
Right.
so.
Can't get eggshells off the ground once an animal gets near trash.
Really?
It's impossible. You can't go down and pick it.
No, was I surprised?
Well,
I was
once
surprised
they
with the
start
results. I was surprised
scattering
it was over 70%. I
I
supported
was
it.
shocked.
I thought it'd be 55, 45, 60, 40, but.
I was very surprised. But good to see.
But the realtors even say, like, they say that everybody knows that you don't show houses in Adrian on Tuesday.
Right. All the
You know-
trash cans are out. And the garbage
Any
is
other day
out.
is great, beautiful city, but not on Tuesdays, so. I love my tour.
Probably others do as well. So it may not be next pre-meeting. I know Matt is gonna talk to me tomorrow. I wasn't in the office today about the bids that we got. There's some lack of specificity on all trash collection, so we may have to send out an amendment form.
What, I have a question about the bulk stuff, so. It used to be where you could just set stuff out, you can set a couch out if you want without having to get tagged, right? You might, you're a little bit older than me, lad, so you can probably.
You mean just call them and tell them to come pick it up?
Right, or,
Yeah, you can
yeah,
still do that.
but no, I mean,
Yeah.
before, it
That's-
would cost
that's
you
not-
money before, like, correct me if I'm wrong, like, so before, like, if I want to put an old entertainment center out there, I can put 2 or 3 bulk items out there at a time without being charged, way back.
I think way back.
Gotta be way back.
Way back, yeah.
You were probably about.
And my question is, we always, our concern is that outside people coming in and dumping on those 2 weekends, right?
Right.
And so, yeah, the service might be a little higher, or, how much it costs, but instead of getting that big number once a year, once every other year, when it comes to spring cleanup, would it be more prudent to just go back to that process? Again, this is not my wheelhouse, by the way. I'm just trying to throw an idea out there to try to avoid people coming in and just dumping trailers, from the townships.
I don't know, from the company's perspective, they probably wouldn't like that because it's hard for them to plan. But also, like, when they come around my house to pick up my recycling, because I have a bin, you can have one guy in a truck. And they just pull up, an arm comes out, grabs the recycle, flips it. So if they're doing that with trash, I mean, it cuts down on their man hours and keeps them moving, and all of a sudden, you get 2 doors down and you've got a couple mattresses and a couch. I don't know, I think it would be very hard for them to quote, so to speak.
It could be designed almost anyway. It could be the first Monday of every month. It could be,
Yeah,
could be a variety of different ways.
but then they'd
Maybe
have
not,
to,
maybe the company is going to frown on that either way.
but then they'd have to come back a different day then. And I think they're in a
The
different
trucks are
city.
being used in another city
Yeah,
or
they're in
something like
a
that.
city on that.
Right.
So,
But is it more of an inconvenience for the, again, I'm not a trash guy. I don't know that business at all. But is it more prudent for them to instead of paying overtime on those 2 weekends to come in and haul tons and tons and tons of stuff rather than just, planning on, I don't know. I don't know their processes and how they price things, but
I didn't mean Monday, I meant Tuesday. I put it out on Monday.
I don't remember what the history is behind why the facility on Deerfield Road was closed. But if that were reopened, I think that would be a real asset.
That's what I'm thinking of. It's owned by Republic. It's actually a private
Yeah.
facility, and it's not closed. It's like mothballed. It could be reopened.
Yeah.
The county also has a very strong interest in that being reopened because of the tipping fees to support their solid waste efforts. If they have a landfill in the county.
what's a tipping fee? What's that?
It's just like have excise tax on what gets dumped in the landfill based on what has been dumped in there. So,
Every
yeah,
truck that gets to.
Yeah, so yeah, the county has talked to me about, well, if Republic were to reopen that, have an incentive to reopen that. Now, Republic is one of the companies that did, so.
I've been one of the same thing as to when it was closed and why it was closed. I didn't know whether it was a capacity issue that they didn't have space. They'd taken all that they could, but I mean, that would solve a lot of our problems. Again, it's one of those things. I can't believe that people aren't willing to pay $5 an item to put it on the curb, or don't know that they can do that, or don't want to pick up the phone, or don't remember to pick up the phone on Monday to call Stevens and give them the credit card number. Yeah, I mean, we continue to have things dumped on, in front of the buildings out on Michigan Street and some of the other places. And that's just gonna, if that continues, that's gonna help defeat our blight initiatives. I mean, we got to do something about that.
As great as it sounds, I read a book once on managing a facility like that out on Deerfield. And there's years and years left in that facility.
Oh, there,
Yeah,
Really?
that's great.
I was wondering where trash goes. Like, where's all the trash go? Do they burn it? What do they do with it? Haul it away?
Bury it.
It gets buried. Yeah, but they have a special technique for burying it. The hill gets bigger and bigger, eventually it becomes a ski slope, but
Yeah.
Except it doesn't, the snow doesn't stick to it because it generates so much heat.
It's
so
just
it
so much
melts it all
methane
off.
and heat coming out of it.
yeah,
It's pretty funny.
but yeah, they have a huge lifespan.
I have some good books for you if you're looking for.
Other than that.
That's why I hesitated to say anything.
I'd like to talk about snow and snow removal.
Okay,
Oh.
I see Matt's online.
Yes, I'm pleasantly surprised by the majority of the city streets and my neighbors and all that, but where are we with getting those that have not cooperated with our request to have the snow removed by noon the next day?
On the
I was
sidewalk.
I was thinking of the streets. but-
Well, there's some streets around Alexandria that could use another pass, but mainly I'm talking about sidewalks. Are we starting to go out and talk to those people, or what's the process?
Well, the process is Glenn does a sweep after we've cleared all our sidewalks, he has a number of days he waits after a big storm. Give a reasonable amount of time, and then he goes and he identifies those who haven't, this is one where we do it with no notice. You haven't shoveled your walk, he calls it into the contractor comes and does it.
I'm on here, Greg, too, if you need me to add anything to that.
Do I speak the truth?
You do. So I'm actually glad this got brought up because I wanted to make sure that Kelly and Doug, being new commissioners, understand the policy. So our ordinance does state that 24 hours after the last snowfall, you have to remove the snow. But we have an internal policy, it's not written or anything, that we will not start violation snow removal until we have our own stuff done. And so what I do is I depend, it used to be from Matt and now it's Jeremiah. He gives me the go ahead, hey, we have our parks done, we have our buildings done, go ahead and do violations. So today I actually started at 8:30 and didn't get done until 4. I submitted a list of 37 private properties to our contractor who will go out and do it tomorrow or the next day. The same with the last snowfall I had. I think I gave him almost 45 of them then. It is an expensive remedy. And it's probably, once they get the bills, it's the biggest heartache I have because it is so expensive. But, you know, the way that it used to be when I took over snow removal in, I think, 2006, it was complaint based only. And it just, after a while, it didn't make sense. And I started talking to Greg and Matt last year. It doesn't make sense. We don't do that with weeds. We don't do that with trash. You've got a block that everybody on that block, except for one, has shoveled their driveway, and there's just one person that doesn't do it. We're going to hit it. So we don't do it complaint based anymore. We do sweeps. And that's what I did today. And I got about half the city done, and I will continue the next half tomorrow. And we will hit as many as we can. Snow is a little hard because it's hard to see. You know, you can drive down the street and see trash piled up on the boulevard, but with snow, it's like, oh, okay, you got to get out of the truck and, oh, maybe they made a shovel path or whatever, but we are on it, Mary.
What kind of cost are we looking at most of the time?
Residential property, well, so if you might have 2 frontages, what was that, Glenn, about $400?
Yeah, that's the problem, is that a lot, for whatever reason, a majority of the properties we do happen to be corner lots. And so, you know, there's a cost per square footage. There's a cost for photos. They have to provide me with 4 photos. If it's a corner lot, they have to provide me with a before and with an after. And I mean, they have to do total snow removal. So I need my full sidewalk removed. I need it salted. I need to see bare sidewalk when I'm done. An average corner lot in the city of Adrian is about $500. I can tell you that we also did the Adrian Mall with their sidewalk on South Winter last week. That bill alone was $2,700 that they're going to get. So it just depends on the square footage of your sidewalk. If you just have a single lot with a 50-foot frontage, you're looking at $185 to $200 and something dollars. But if you have a corner lot, it's not going to be cheap.
Are we finding neighbors to step up and help the elderly? Are we finding that that is taken care of quite a bit?
I think so. I mean, again, my news source is usually Facebook, but a lot of people thanking their neighbors for coming over and taking care of them. So there's a lot of that going on. There's probably a lot of it that's not going on. I mean, when I get the snow blower out, I do half of State Street. You know, that's,
I
you know,
do a part of state.
yeah, you do that. You do one end, I do the other. But and people appreciate that. I've got to deal with my neighbor that, you know, I'll do the big broad brush cleaning. He does the cut work. You know, he catches the other stuff.
I just
But,
want to make sure that
yeah, you don't want
elderly,
people, the little old lady, you know, that
hoping that
they
neighbors.
can't afford the couple $100.
Right.
They need to have their stuff.
I was grossly underpaid as a kid with a shovel.
I'm sorry.
You were.
I was grossly underpaid with a as a kid
Yeah, oh,
with a
yeah.
shovel.
Well, you can find a neighborhood kid, that's gonna be your better option. You don't want a
Yeah.
contract.
Actually, Will Watson, Brad's son, did mine twice.
Really?
Yeah, I'm like, who's that? Went up, back down, sweet,
That's good, yeah.
yeah.
Well, as someone who walked every day, if not twice a day during the snowstorm this morning, there are a number of them that are not. There are a number of times I had to walk in the street around my house, Russell Park, Alexander, all that area, and I was. Even today, they still aren't done. Okay, give them the weekend.
All right, I guess it is time for a public comment. At this time, we will do public comment, and for the record, please state your name and address.
Yes, my name is Don Taylor, 475 Meadowbrook Drive. A few comments. Number one, with regards to the farmer's market, kudos to you moving forward with that. We've needed to do this for a long time. Jay is the right guy to do it. If you want to have some entertainment, perhaps we could help you on the Artalicious side because we have a great person who handles all of our entertainment. Be happy to talk to you about that. Number two, sometimes it's hard to hear some of you commissioners. That could be because I'm hard of hearing, but maybe you don't use the microphone as well as you could. I can always hear Greg and several others. Thirdly, snowfall, okay? I own a building downtown. You issued a snow emergency that says no parking on city streets, and that means everywhere, okay? But we have to pile up our snow on the sidewalks. That's the rule. And then at some point in time, we're told to push it into the street. Now, bear in mind, from the very beginning of this emergency, nobody could park on the city streets downtown. We piled up our snow. Then we were told at 4:15 or so on Thursday afternoon to push it into the street because the city's going to come in at 5 in the morning and pick up all the snow in the parking areas. Why could we have not pushed the snow into the parking areas to begin with? Because nobody could park there. I had to pay double to have the snow moved. Well, not quite double because I helped my snow guy do it. Just think about how this affects people. Think about how to do this, all right? Thank you.
Hi, Mayor. I have a comment about the trash discussion, Glenn Preston.
Go ahead.
So there was a couple of questions about how the landfill ended up closing, and I just wanted to give you a little history because I was with the city at that time. So back prior to us switching to Stevens for pickup, we used, at the time it was called Allied, and then they become Great Lakes, and then they become Republic, and they're the ones that ran the landfill out on Deerfield Highway. Stevens underbid them. It was a big hoopla. They had a bunch of employees that came to a city commission meeting. They ended up closing the landfill because we selected Stevens over them. But as Commissioner Helt was saying, yes, we did. Prior to switching to Stevens, we had unlimited trash pickup. So if you own a single family house, every day, whatever your trash pickup was, you could throw everything you wanted out there and it was taken care of. But at that time, we charged $1 mil to every property in the city of Adrian. However, we would only pick up trash from residential property. So you would have, let's say at the time, the Adrian Mall was vibrant, Myers, and McDonald's, whatever, they were still paying the $1 mil. However, we would only pick up trash from the residential units. And somewhere along the line, when we decided to put out that last contract, we're like, we're no longer going to charge this millage. We're going to charge each individual. And then we're going to limit it to 6 bags. So I was just wanting to throw a little bit of history on how we went from where we used to be to where we are. We no longer charge the millage. It's just, we charge the residential. And I believe it's, Matt can correct me if I'm wrong, I believe it's 5 or 6 units or less. and each unit can put out 6 bags. And so that's when we started going to the bulk trash pickup, because you could no longer put out all of your bulk trash. I'm done.
Are the companies that we're talking with open to having trash coming out every week?
The reason why I asked that is because my trash vendors for my 2 dumpsters and my business, they bid it. And I talked to my rep a lot, and she goes, because I was, she talked about it, because I think she just walked in with her boss too. So I think it's the reason why I brought it, because I think it saves them money, because they told me it does, because they don't have to come in and pay guys overtime and just deal with it instead of just, because everybody's not gonna pull their stuff out at once if they're allowed to do that, every week per se. So again, that's not my wheelhouse, but my rep's boss did say that it would save the city a ton of money, because you won't get, and I was also concerned with, because the spring cleanup, our citizens love it. They love it. They want it. They want to take it to their curb and drop it and be done with it. But I was, me being the fiscal side of me says that, we could bleed away $1 million in 10 years like that, gone, and then we're not getting any return on that outside of taking care of people's trash. It's not blight remediation because I don't know where these people have all this stuff. You drive around sometimes, you see, from curb to curb, just the stuff, and so I feel that we probably shouldn't have to do it every single year. It's like, because again, we spend say conservatively $100,000. I mean, we're going to eat away at our fund balance quickly, with that. And I know that somebody said that, I said that the city doesn't want to, our citizens don't want us to be a bank, but they also want us to, we're gonna spend that kind of money, let's get a good return on it, when it comes from an investment standpoint. So that's why I threw that out there, because they told me that if you would change the bid tabulations and say that, hey, we'll pick up bulk items at any time, you're gonna save yourselves a ton of money by doing that. So again, I'm not in the trash business, but that's what they told me. So interesting. Yeah.
Any other public comment? Hearing none, may I get a motion to adjourn?
Move to adjourn.
Support.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Meeting is adjourned, and we will begin our regular meeting at 7 p.m.
Does anybody have
I call to order the Adrian City Commission meeting for February 7th, 2022. If everyone would please rise for a moment of silence and the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, please.
Mayor Heath,
Present.
Commissioner Halt,
Present.
Commissioner Roberts,
Present.
Commissioner Miller,
Present.
Commissioner Strayer,
Present.
Commissioner Castleberry,
Present.
Commissioner Gauss,
Present.
all commission members present.
Tonight, we're going to have 2 proclamations. One we are going to do right now. The other one we are going to do later on at the end of the meeting, because the NAACP representative can't be here until the very end of our meeting, because we will be recognizing Black History Month. But right now, we are going to do a proclamation recognizing the Lenaway Christian Cougar football team. And I do see that Bill Wilharms is on Zoom with us tonight. He said that they would be joining via Zoom. So welcome, Coach Wilharms. And I'm going to read the proclamation. And after this, I will be taking the proclamation to Lenaway Christian School sometime this week. Whereas for the 2nd year in a row, the Lenaway Christian Cougars have won the MHSAA Division I 8-player football championship. And whereas improving this year to 13-0 on the season and 24-0 all-time in 8-man football, the Cougars have excelled during difficult times.
And whereas the team suffered a tragic loss in week 2 with the passing of their teammate Nathan Bowen. And whereas the Cougars have faced difficulties again this year due to COVID protocols and exposures. And whereas the Lenaway Christian Cougars were coached under head coach Bill Wilharms, and special recognition goes to defensive coordinator Eric Roback, who just completed his last season with the Cougar football coaching staff. And whereas a state championship in any year is an outstanding accomplishment, and the Cougars overcame tragedy and unexpected difficulties again this year to achieve victory. It is a victory the LCS athletic teams, school, and community should be beyond proud of. Now, therefore, I, Angela Sword Heath, Mayor of the City of Adrian, Michigan, do hereby congratulate the Lenaway Christian School Cougars football team on their great accomplishments. Congratulations. And Bill, if you would like to say anything, you are welcome to at this time.
Thanks, guys. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay. Thank you very much. I sure appreciate, I see some familiar faces. I deeply appreciate the recognition for the hard work that the boys and the coaching staff went through. And as I told Mayor Heath, I hopefully we represent Adrian and Lenaway County every time we take the field, and we sure appreciate, you know, in my mind, small town football is the best. And we hopefully can keep things rolling again this next year. It's going to be tough without Eric, but we're looking forward to the challenges.
Thank you. I will be dropping this off to the athletic office this week for you, Coach Wilharms.
Thank you.
All right, moving on to the consent agenda. May I get a motion to adopt the consent agenda?
So moved.
Support. I have a motion from Commissioner Halt with a second from Commissioner Roberts. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Halt,
Yes.
Commissioner Roberts,
Yes.
Commissioner Miller. Yes. Commissioner Strayer,
Yes.
Commissioner Castleberry,
Yes.
Commissioner Gauss,
Yes.
Mayor Heath.
Yes.
Consent agenda approved by unanimous vote.
Moving on to the regular agenda, Resolution R22-008 is from administration. It is a resolution to approve application to the MEDC Match on Main Grant Program. May I get a motion to adopt the resolution?
Move to adopt the resolution.
Support.
Are there any public comments? Are there any commissioner comments? I have a motion from Commissioner Castleberry with a second from Commissioner Miller. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Roberts,
Yes.
Commissioner Miller,
Yes.
Commissioner Strayer,
Yes.
Commissioner Castleberry,
Yes.
Commissioner Gauss,
Yes.
Mayor Heath,
Yes.
Commissioner Halt.
Yes.
Resolution adopted by unanimous vote.
Resolution R22-009 is from administration. It is a resolution to approve a contract with J. Marks for the administration of the farmers market. May I get a motion to adopt the resolution?
So moved.
Support.
Are there any commissioner, I'm sorry, is there any public comment? Are there any commissioner comments? I have a motion from Commissioner Gauss and Commissioner Miller with a second from Commissioner Castleberry. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Miller,
Yes.
Commissioner Strayer,
Yes.
Commissioner Castleberry,
Yes.
Commissioner Gauss,
Yes.
Mayor Heath,
Yes.
Commissioner Halt,
Yes.
Commissioner Roberts.
Yes.
Resolution adopted by unanimous vote.
Resolution R22-010 is from Engineering Services. It is a resolution to approve a right-of-way closure permit for the installation of an arch over Adrian College Boulevard and approve a maintenance agreement for the arch. May I get a motion to adopt the resolution?
Move to adopt the resolution.
Support.
Are there any public comments? Are there any commissioner comments? I have a motion from Commissioner Halt with a second from Commissioner Strayer. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Strayer,
Yes.
Commissioner Castleberry,
Yes.
Commissioner Gauss,
Yes.
Mayor Heath,
Yes.
Commissioner Halt,
Yes.
Commissioner Roberts,
Yes.
Commissioner Miller.
Yes.
Resolution adopted by unanimous vote.
Resolution R 22-011 is from Utilities. It is a resolution to extend the contract for lime removal services. May I get a motion to adopt the resolution?
Move to adopt the resolution.
Support.
Are there any public comments? Are there any commissioner comments? I have a motion from Commissioner Roberts with a second from Commissioner Miller. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Castleberry,
Yes.
Commissioner Gauss,
Yes.
Mayor Heath,
Yes.
Commissioner Halt,
Yes.
Commissioner Roberts,
Yes.
Commissioner Miller,
Yes.
Commissioner Strayer.
Yes.
Resolution adopted by unanimous vote.
Resolution R 22-012 is from Utilities. It is a resolution to extend the contract for biosolids removal services. May I get a motion to adopt the resolution?
Move to adopt the resolution.
Support.
Are there any public comments? Are there any commissioner comments? I have a motion from Commissioner Roberts with a second from Commissioner Strayer. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Gauss,
Yes.
Mayor Heath,
Yes.
Commissioner Halt,
Yes.
Commissioner Roberts,
Yes.
Commissioner Miller,
Yes.
Commissioner Strayer,
Yes.
Commissioner Castleberry.
Yes.
Resolution adopted by unanimous vote.
We will now move on to public comment. At this time, we will begin in-house and then we will move on to Zoom after everyone that wants to speak in-house has spoken. Just to reiterate, there is a 3-minute time limit, which will be shown on the screen. And for the record, please state your name and address.
Hello, Joaquin Ramos, 422 South Winter Street, homeowner here in Adrian. Just remind you guys as normal, second Friday is this Friday, and A3 will be doing our usual thing. Of course, we're pretty excited for once it warms up and we can do a little bit more, but that can be seen on Facebook, Zoom, or in person at 301 South Tecumseh Street. And then if you want to hear about what some of the residents over there are thinking about, some of the things going on, our normal meeting is on Sunday, starting at 3 p.m. The same place, can also be found on Zoom. And if you would like somehow find the links or anything, you can email me. I'm pretty sure I've emailed all of you numerous times, so you should be able to find me. Have a good day.
Good evening. My name is Julie Moore. I live at 2310 Shepherd Road in Adrian. And I'm just taking this opportunity, if I can, to just introduce myself to you. I am a Tecumseh High School graduate and a 2007 University of Michigan graduate of the School of Nursing. I've lived by and instilled my faith and my values in my children, and I share them in the community. I am a diabetes nurse educator and a community volunteer. I have just announced my candidacy for the position of state representative. My goal is to continue the great work done by our current representative, Brana Kali, who is termed out in this next election. My concerns currently really are economics, promoting small business, healthcare, and as well education. And I would like to be committed as well to protecting our constitutional rights and preserving our conservative values. So I thank you for your time, and I would appreciate your vote on August 2nd. Have a great evening.
Hearing no more public comment in the chambers, I will now open it up via Zoom. So anyone that would like to participate for public comment on Zoom, you will also see your time on the screen there displayed for you, and please state your name and address. I don't see anyone unmuting, so I'm assuming there is no public comment on Zoom. So I will now move on to commissioner comments. Are there any commissioner comments? All right, so I am now going to do the proclamation for Black History Month at this time. If you would like to state, I don't know if you have a position within NAACP. I thought you did. So if you would like to state your name and what your position is, you can come on up here.
Hi. Hi, I'm Geraldine Boykin. I'm the Vice President of NAACP here in Lenaway County, and glad to be here and seeing all of you.
Thank you for coming tonight. Appreciate it. Whereas the NAACP has led the struggle for freedom and equality for all Americans for over 90 years. And whereas, as a result of the efforts of the NAACP, the barriers which have long divided people along racial and religious lines have been torn down. And whereas, as a result of efforts of the NAACP, the city of Adrian has become a better place for all of its citizens to work, study, learn, and live. Now, therefore, I, Angela Swordheath, Mayor of the City of Adrian, do hereby proclaim the month of February 2022 as Black History Month and call upon all people of goodwill and lovers of justice to join me in reaffirming our support of the Lenaway County chapter of the nation's oldest and largest civil rights organization, the NAACP. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Thank you for all of your work that you do with NAACP as well. Thank you. And just so everyone knows, the president of the NAACP is Jeanette Hennigan, but she is out of town tonight and could not make it. So just wanted to let everybody know that as well. All right, may I get a motion to adjourn? I have a motion from Commissioner Miller with a second from Commissioner Strayer. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Meeting is adjourned. Thank